And if you go look for trouble, you're likely to find it. Elderberries coming ripe. Got a few left on this bunch to ripen up, but they're coming right along. But I'm not looking for elderberries today. Today, I'm looking for something else. This right here is the trouble that we are looking for today. Guys, have a look at this. I think it's some kind of a ragwort. Pardon me. I think this is some kind of a ragwort. All I know is, if I let this plant grow and get big, it is going to put on flowers here shortly. These yellow flowers, large yellow flowers, and they will form spiky seeds that will get into your clothes and everything else. A stick and pet spur, jab you in the foot. Oh, by the way, I've kind of backed up on a black locust tree, stabbing me in the back there. It's not the only spiky thing I've got here. Black locust tree is going to be something else that we'll have to take care of at another day. But today, this is the trouble that we're looking for. And as long as we're looking for this, we may as well talk about looking for all kinds of things. Buckle up. Not too long ago, you guys watched podcast. Rogan had Paul Stamets on. Paul Stamets is a mushroom. One of my kind of people, right? So he talks about some out there stuff too. He's into the psychedelic or mind altering aspects. Well, I think Terrence McKenna is more the psychedelic mind altering. Yeah, they both are really. But anyway, he's into more the psychedelic or mind altering aspects of mycology, which is, I mean, fine, I'm sure. Research on cognitive benefits of microdosing and psilocybin cubensis and lion's mane mushroom. Anyway, I can't recall off the top of my head. That sounds wonderful for neuroplasticity and even maybe helping regenerate nervous tissue. That's all wonderful stuff. But I'm more interested in the biodynamic effects of fungi whenever they interact with living systems. So, a little bit difference of focus. Obviously right now if you're looking, you can see, pardon me, obviously right now if you're looking, you can see all different kinds of forbs and grasses in this area, and we're just going to weed everything really. But the reason I'm really looking at this ragwort is because I need to get it pulled up before it goes to seed. And as you see here, we got some right here that's in flower. Grab this guy and get him up here. Don't want to uproot my spiderwort, but this ragwort, shoot, no, I don't want it. And look, oh look, you already got seeds for me. Look at these. Look at these guys. These guys right here will just stick tight to just about anything. Maybe they're called stick tights. Who knows? Do you know what the name of this particular plant is? All right, I'm thinking it's some kind of a ragweed, or ragwort. Not ragweed, but ragwort. All right, that's what we're looking for. Now, I'm just all over the place today, aren't I? Sorry about that. So in the Rogan interview, Mary's telling me about it. I didn't watch it because I usually don't have the time, really. He was talking about finding mushrooms and how sometimes you're looking at a landscape and there are all the mushrooms in the landscape, but they're just blending in with everything else and you don't see them, right? You just don't see them. And until you come up and somebody goes, oh, here's one, and they point it out to you, and then you see that pattern and you can't help but to see it everywhere. And you go, oh, there's one over there, and there's one over there, and here's one over there, and here's one over here. And of course, this is what we're doing with the ragworts now, because now I am just looking for ragwort. If I was just looking at this sea of weeds, really, it's a bunch of weeds, right? I wouldn't be able to see just the ragwort. I'm seeing a sea of weeds, but now everywhere I look, I'm spotting the ragwort. And as going after the ragwort everywhere I see it. If you wanted to look and find a bunch of weeds here, you can find a bunch of weeds here, or you could find a bunch of incidental ground cover. I see a bunch of incidental ground cover. This particular one, though, we don't want it to have the opportunity to reseed itself because it's a bit problematic. The Bermuda grass is already in seed, so we're going to get some more of that no matter what we do. But we'll go ahead and try to get as much good out as I can too while we're here. There, doesn't that look better? Oh, yeah. Already starting to look better. You know, when you're looking at a big job, you can be overwhelmed at first and see this large, massive stuff, and it's more than a person can really fathom and keep up with. So the temptation is, it's too much, I can't handle it, it's overwhelming, and you throw up your hands in defeat before you even get started. So, learning how to focus on one thing can be your gateway, can be your gateway into accomplishing a larger task. Sorry about the disturbances. I'm trying to get around this mimosa tree and not disturb it too much. I'll get the camera in the offhand. So, all right. Look, a little bit of a violet left down in there. All right. Oh, there's some more of those weeds I don't like. That's an elm. Yeah, that's an elm tree. That's another elm tree. Oh, violets. Leave the violets. Leave the violets. Pull the Bermuda grass. There we go. Bermuda grass comes out. Violets can stay. Bermuda grass comes out. Oh my gosh. What is this? Oh. Oh boy. I'm gonna be itchy. I've just been brushing up against the stinging nettle right here. I didn't even notice it was a stinging nettle. Grasshoppers ate most of it off. Oh boy. Apparently I found another trap crop for grasshoppers. Huh. Alright. Okay. Okie dokie. Let me get out of the way here. There we go. Little baby mimosa tree. Alright. And of course you're going, oh Jason, why in the world are you just grabbing like one weed right now? You've got all this weeding you could be doing. You know you want to get rid of all that Bermuda grass, like you just weeded that one spot. That's true, I needed to rescue that one plant, but for the rest of the time, if I'm not ready to come in and follow up with another ground cover, and I'm not, if I pull up everything, then I'm just going to leave the ground exposed, and that's no good. So for the moment, even though there are species in here that I do want to eliminate, like the Bermuda grass, I'm going to leave it. And we're going to focus on making sure that we get, sorry, is that a pecan tree? I got a pecan tree. that's a pecan. this is I spilled some peat moss and wood chips out on the concrete pad. The concrete pad, this is only about maybe 2 inches here. Got a pecan tree, got started in it. That's amazing. All right, isn't that amazing? Sorry about the noise. We're doing some work on the gas pipeline over there next to us. Getting it passed under the road and stuff. All right, this is a black locust tree, so I gotta be careful not to skewer myself on it. It's coming out until it's supposed to be coming out right about now. We got the heat on, so it's probably next up on my list of things to remove. But I just have to get these guys knocked out before they can make seeds, see? And even small ones are blooming and making seeds, so they have to come out like right now. Everything else is ground cover. It's fine, but I just don't want this stuff going to seed. All right, I think I've explained my position well enough, right? And one part of his teaching is steering the Sermon on the Mount. Ooh, I'm going to do some pruning while I'm over here. I hope you don't mind. Steering the Sermon on the Mount. Jesus is talking about knocking, seeking, and asking. He says, knock, The door will be open, seek you will find. This is, of course, what he is talking about. Whenever you're praying for something, whether you're asking for God or asking for the universe to provide you with experiences, or just aligning yourself with the higher possibilities, however it is that you think about this process that you know about whenever you're in the process of aligning or attuning yourself. This prayer that you do, asking for gifts, whenever you make this prayer, whenever you ask for something, do you not, whenever you go forth in this way, so if you believe that the prayer was effective, do you not look for evidence of that prayer being resolved, evidence of it being granted, evidence of a conflict brought to resolution, or evidence of a promise being fulfilled? Whenever you look for it, you'll find it. If you're looking up in the clouds for signs of castles and dinosaurs and dragons, you're going to see, more than likely, castles, dragons, and dinosaurs. If you're looking up there for other things, you'll see other things, whales, or dolphins. It's all in what it is that you're looking for, is what the patterns are going to be there for you to find synchronistically, giving you the feedback that tells you what it is that you want to know. This is called, of course, confirmation bias, because we're always looking for signs, as the good teacher would say, always looking for a sign to tell you which way you're going. If you knew which way was the right way, you wouldn't need to be looking for a sign. Boy, but because people don't know what the right way to go is, signs are what we look for. And whenever we look for signs, by golly, we find signs. Clues, indications, nudges, something to tell you that you're on the right path or on the wrong path. You listen to your intuition and allow the signs that appear to you to guide you. Whenever you look for things, you tend to find them. The ducks over here have been looking for bugs. But remember what I said about patience the other day. Well, if you keep on looking, and if you're patient, eventually, everything will happen exactly when it's supposed to.